question. Sure. What the fuck are we doing way out here?
Well, perhaps the good doctor will be kind enough to tell us.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say how much I appreciate this opportunity to join you in what
We're sure that you appreciate being here, Doctor, but you must understand, we don't. We were taken off a well-deserved leave and sent into Neptune space. We are now 3 billion clicks from the nearest outpost. The last time USAC attempted a rescue this far past the outer reach, well, we lost both ships, so if you please.
Right. Well, everything I'm about to tell you is considered code black by the NSA. USAC intercepted a radio transmission from a decaying orbit around Neptune. The source of this transmission has been identified as the Event Horizon.
Yeah. Well, that's bullshit for a start.
Skipper, you took me off leave for the
Smitty, sit down. Cooper, as you were. Let the man.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Most Ice calling from the county jail, and hoping to get out on here on bond here soon, but I gotta come up with 10%, and apparently my vehicle is not enough. It's not valued enough for 10%. Hold on. What do you want? Huh? Nah. Oh, hey. Have you seen Jay? Anyway, alright, so... Alright, so let's get back into our counter report. We're going to be paralleling the events going on, mainly because, you know, am I enthusiastic about the possibility of, you know, discovery of intelligent life out there other than us? Absolutely. I'm big time enthusiastic, and I definitely have a thirst and curiosity for the natural world. But you gotta understand, you know, I'm a little older, and you know, my enthusiasm has been going on since, you know, the early '90s. You know, if not the late '80s. So, you know, I think it's important that to look out for the young people, because right now, basically, what's going on is you got the government controlling the narrative with this, and so, you know, young people who weren't around back in the you know, the early days, you know, even my age. Yes, I'm older than, say, a teenager or whatever, so I can draw back on my experience from the 80s and 90s, but, you know, even you know, I'm considered young compared to the people who can go back and draw their experience from the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. So it's good that, you know, the older generation and what we learned to lay a good foundation to the young people that are a little bit more impressionable and get a little bit more enthused, and jump on the bite of whatever's being put out there. We try to be as unbiased as possible. We just try to lay out the facts. That's why we're going over this with a fine-tooth comb. And today we're going to be working on page 3, paragraph 1, this section here. So let's go ahead and add that. This is a living document. It's going to be expanded as we go. So let's go ahead and let's cover that. So July 1st, 2021, page 3, paragraph 1. And as we go, if anything that comes out that we want to ask or that we think is important, like I said, the reason we're putting the pen to paper down is because you know, we want to go over this. Let's see. There's a process for why we're doing this. let's see. There's a famous Sherlock Holmes quote where he says, after eliminating all that is possible, or whatever, something like that, whatever remains, however unlikely, is the truth, or something like that. Whatever remains must be the truth. Sorry, I should have had this pulled up for you earlier, and I apologize about that, ladies and gentlemen. But here's the famous quote, and this is kind of basically how we're doing our research on this. All right. Once you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, no matter how improbable, must be the truth. Arthur Conan Doyle Sr. quotes Scottish writer, creator of the detective Sherlock Holmes. Arthur Conan Doyle. So we're going to read this. We're going to go through it. And then I got a list of slides here that I think will be helpful. But before we get into that, I added a section to our report. And I figured we'd just go ahead and get it out of the way. Now, there's about 20 different, it's titled Theoretical Explanations. Also, we got the summary of the UATB report, which we added a section, but that's not done. Like what I'm saying, we're gonna add more to this. We're gonna add more to this. We're gonna go, and here's our dailies. Here's our paragraphs. Now, I put number 1. I put electronic warfare, specifically radar signature spoofing. But now that doesn't explain the visual observations. So if we took the Tic Tac, for example, or let's just talk about electronic warfare. And now, just so that nobody thinks that I'm biting off their work, I want to cite where I got most of this information from, and a person that I learned a lot from and still learn a lot from, and definitely a pioneer in the truth space, is alien scientist. So I just want to make that clear. This is not originally, I did not originally discover this. This is due to a lot of work from Alien Scientist. Check his YouTube channel out. It's called the Alien Scientist YouTube channel, and go ahead and support him. But anyway, there's a thing in electronic warfare where, when you send out your radio signal, when you propagate it out, and it usually hits a target, echoes back, or an object echoes back, and it gives you details like distance, where the object is, how far it is. But anyway, one thing you can do is spoof the signature back, and you can actually alter the signature. So most objects give off a unique signature, right? So if you can absorb the radio waves, or the radar waves, let's just say we'll call them radar waves, and then spoof the signature back, right? You can create a false radar blimp. You don't even need an object to absorb it. You can just use transmitters, basically, to spoof out a false signal, like a fleet of jets. And there's no reason why you couldn't spoof an advanced or exotic UAP. So you're basically replicating a radar signature, and that's what you're doing. So, a little brief history, electronic warfare. I suggest getting more into it. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and read this page 3, paragraph 1. Here's a little paragraph here I want to touch on just briefly. Assumptions. Various forms of sensors that register UAP generally operate correctly and capture enough real data to allow initial assessments, but some UAP may be attributable to sensor anomalies. Okay. Executive summary. The limited amount of high-quality reporting on unidentified aerial phenomenon hampers our ability to draw firm conclusions about the nature or intent, it's important, of UAP. The Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force considered a range of information on UAP described in U.S. military and IC intelligence community reporting. So that means that they did consider massive amounts of reporting from the FBI, the CIA, the NGA, the ONR. But because the reporting lacks sufficient specificity, ultimately recognized that a unique they said, well, instead of incorporating for the last 70 years from all these various ICs, even though we will get considered for a general idea, we're going to tailor a unique reporting process required to provide sufficient data for analysis for UAP events. So what they did is said, look, we're just going to focus, we're going to take a small period of time from '04 to 2021. So we're going to focus between this time period, and basically we're going to draw most of it from the ONI, Office of Naval Intelligence, which basically means seacraft and aircraft. And so we can deduce based on what radar systems that the Navy and aircraft use. I mean, we definitely know that they use the FLIR, and they use a system called EOTS, which is electro-optical systems, electrical optical systems, which is in your F-22, your F-35, your F-18, your F-16s, F-15, stuff like that. Okay, so that's why they did that. They wanted to get a better, higher quality report, and so they narrowed their search to a very small period of time. And for I'm pretty sure they generally focused on the information that the ONI was giving off. Okay. Most of the UAP reporting probably do represent physical objects. That's important. So most of them probably are physical objects, given that a majority of UAP were registered across multiple sensors to include radar, infrared, electro-optical, weapon seekers, and visual observation. So I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I forgot to pull up weapon seekers. That's heat seekers. So I'll pull that up. Next one, I promise I'll pull that up. But let's go over radar, infrared, electro-optical weapon seekers. And right off the bat, one of the questions we want to know is what specific radar, infrared, and electro-optical systems were used in the report. So we want to get more specific detail on that. Okay. So that's what we're going to do. So let's pull up this right here. We got 13 types of military radar. Well, let's just basically start with what is radar? Basic types and applications. Who invented radar? What is a radar system? Radar stands for radio detection and ranging system. So when you get a chance, do some research on what radar is. That's real important. Working principles, fundamentals of radar. I firmly believe before you just start jumping to conclusions about, okay, this is intelligent life form from other star systems within a physical / electrical universe, and that they've built some kind of a craft. But anyway, essential parts of a system include a transmitter, waveguides, antenna, duplexer, receiver, threshold decisions. Now, I do know this, and I thought it was interesting. So let's talk about the. I don't know, if you can see this, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about the electromagnetic spectrum. So you got your long radio waves, and you got your AM, FM, Wi-Fi, microwave, infrared. So 5G is somewhere around this area here. It's at the upper part of your microwave spectrum, higher than Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is, as we know, if you look at your router, 2.4 to 5 gigahertz. And then over here you got now the longer the wavelength. This is determined by wavelength. Okay. See, wavelength. Short little wavelengths, long wavelengths. Long wavelengths propagate further out than short ones. And interesting that the antenna that you need to receive these is the exact same length as their wavelength. I thought that was an interesting thing you should know. The length of this wavelength, right, which would be that, to measure from this point to that point, is your wavelength. Or it could be from here to here. It's usually you're measuring it from, this point, that point, which is right here. That's your wavelength. That is the length of the antenna that you need to receive. Thought you should know that. It's interesting. Here's light. So there's light. Okay, so light is a part of the spectrum. Now we've narrowed it down to basically now there's many different types of radar. There's multiple different types. There's Doppler. There's all kinds. But for sure, we're talking about the 13 military radars. So we got 1, simple pulse radar. 2, moving target indication radar. 3, high range resolution radar. 4, imaging radar. 5, tracking radar. 6, electronically scanned phased array radar. 7, precipitation radar. 8, cloud profile radar. 9, scatterometer. It's interesting. 10, naval fire control radars. 11, airborne surveillance radars. 12, airborne fire control radars. And 13, military air control and ranging radars. So most likely they're gathering it from the sensors. When they say radar, they're talking about these right here. Types of radar. Now this is civilian types. You got bistatic radar, Doppler radar, monopulse radar, passive radar, instrumentation radar, weather radars, mapping radar, navigational radars, pulsed radar, pulse Doppler, moving target indicator, continuous wave, radar range equation, applications. So you got military applications, air traffic control, remote sensing, and the list goes on and on. Moving on. Infrared. So we're assuming you're talking about infrared detectors. And with infrared, you have thermo, okay? Or thermography. Thermo video and thermo, and there's also night vision. Night vision classifies under infrared. So there's tons and tons of different types of sensors. So I think your basics is what you want to get down. Is learn electronic warfare before if you're interested in this fields of ufology. I think you got to get a good fundamental base when it comes to this, ladies and gentlemen. So you got your infrared detection systems, stuff like that. Here's Northrop Grumman electro-optical. That's your ERS, is what they call it, system, electro-optical system, or ERS. That's what it looks like. These are in all major aircraft right now, or top 5th gen, 4th gen aircraft. Electro-optical and infrared systems. You get a chance, check that out. That's in the A-10 Warthog. There you go. That's a commercial. That's a aircraft designed strictly for sensor intelligence. Electro-optical massent. Check that out when you get a chance. Electro-optical sensors, lamps, position sensors, electro-optics, thermo, and finally, just basic optics. Optics is the branch of physics that studies the behavior and properties of light, including the interactions with matter and the construction of instruments that use or detect it. So, now, as far as the Tic Tac, we were able to explain. We can't explain. It is possible to explain the radar signature, but we can't explain the observational. Well, optic spoofing using light. Okay, so let's look that up. Matter of fact, I think this should be a subcategory of electronic warfare. There's holographic deception. Okay, let's put this. Let's go like that. Let's go to optical spoofing, or let's just call it optical warfare, right? So optical mirage, I guess you could say. Optical holographic and mirage. How do you spell mirage? Mirage. Holographic, optical holographic spoofing, which we're going to look into more in depth. So when I get a chance, I'm going to review all these stuff, and then I'm going to give you some more of my findings. But I just wanted to keep you updated on where we're at. So these are the two. Now, if we can prove this, then we would have been able to solve it. Now, we got one, like let's say if the Tic Tac is the template, and if we can solve it based on possible explanations, then we figured it out. So we know we can figure out the radar the part of it, but we can't figure out the optical. Well, how do they add the optical part of it too? Well, this is one possibility. Okay, optics and optical warfare. Now, of course, we're going to go ahead and put, as to say that we're not biased, we're going to look into this too. Intelligent life forms. I don't like to use aliens. I like intelligent life forms from another star system. So we're going to consider that too. But I got about 20 different possibilities that this can be. So let's first develop some theories. And like I said, we're going to use the Sherlock Holmes quote and just process of elimination. Other star systems, assuming other star systems using craft, physical craft. See, there's other possibilities like interdimensional or some kind of like consciousness travel and stuff like that. Physical craft in a assuming this world is not a simulation and it's physical and stuff like that. Physical / electrical universe. Electrical universe. Just gonna leave it like that. And I think that's about it. I think that's gonna cover it for today. So yeah. So we went over this section here. We're not done. I mean, we're gonna come back to it. We're just getting it down on pens and paper, right? So basically, what we do is we fill this out as the initial rough draft, and then we go in more detail, right? And then we go in more detail and more detail. So by the time we're at the 5th draft, we've eliminated all these stuff. But right now we're just getting a general idea of where we want to go with the specific this specific research that we're doing, right? So what we drew out of this right here, let me go ahead and highlight that. Let's see. What we drew specifically out of this is what specific radar, infrared, and electro-optical systems that were used. So 1, 2, 3. So we need to get a whole list of this, get that down on a report, right? All right. I think that's going to do it. And like, subscribe, share. Help me break Google's algorithm. I've been doing this for about 2.5 years, and still haven't really been able to break out. A lot of it is because I'm a Trump supporter, or I am a Trump supporter, conservative, what they call a conspiracy theory, alternative media guy. So that they keep my videos suppressed. So help me by sharing this across all your links if you would. I'd really appreciate that. And other than that, we're going to come back probably in the next few days with another section of the report. All right, guys, I'm Ice. Take it easy.
It was made public about the Event Horizon that she was a deep space research vessel, that her reactor went critical, and that the ship blew up. None of that is true. The Event Horizon was the culmination of a secret government project to create a spacecraft capable of faster-than-light flight.
Excuse me. You see, you can't actually do that.
The law of relativity prohibits faster-than-light travel.
Relativity, yes, we can't break the law of relativity. We can go around it. The ship doesn't really go faster than light. What it does is it creates a dimensional gateway that allows it to jump instantaneously from one point of the universe to another light years away.
How?
Well, it's difficult to... It's all math.
Try us, Doctor.
Right, well, using layman's terms, use a rotating magnetic field to focus a narrow beam of gravitons. These, in turn, fold space-time consistent with Weyl tensor dynamics until the space-time curvature becomes infinitely large and you produce a singularity. Now, a singularity...
Layman's terms.